Celeste, and welcome back to another episode of Yarn to Table. If this is your first time watching my podcast, I'd like to give you a big warm welcome and thank you so much for checking me out. I hope you find something here that you like. Make sure to hit the subscribe button down below if you do. I'd also appreciate it if you would hit the thumbs up because that helps other people find me. If you'd like to see information on any of the projects that you see or just keep up with my knitting life, you can find me on Ravelry. I keep my project page very up to date there, and I'm also on Instagram. I am Celeste Full on both places. And there's also a Ravelry group that I would love to have you join. You can find it by searching for Yarn to Table or by clicking the link in the down bar. And you can find notes to all of the episodes of Yarn to Table there in the Ravelry group, and that'll also be your go-to place when we start doing some fun stuff like knit-alongs or anything along those lines. In fact, the first thing that I have to talk to you today about is, it's not a knit-along, but it is a giveaway. So basically, I just hit 100 subscribers and I wanted to show my gratitude to all of you. So I thought it would be fun to do a little giveaway. And it coincided nicely because, skipping ahead a bit, I feel like I can steal a tiny bit of my stash enhancement this week because I have a lot of yarn to show you. Because basically, yarn from last week didn't show up until this week because post office nightmares and everything. So I got myself these little signature straight needles. They are the 2.5 millimeter stiletto tipped, and I got them because I wanted something special for my Cozy Memories blanket, which I'm very excited about. And I actually did not know if I was going to want the 7-inch or the 10-inch, so I ended up ordering both for myself and deciding that I would give one of the pairs away as my 100 subscribers giveaway because I was almost to 100 when I placed the order. So these are the 7-inch. They are the ones that I'm keeping for myself. And the 10-inch are exactly like this, same color and everything, just a little bit longer. And I think they would also be perfect for a Cozy Memories blanket, which I know a lot of people are working on, or any other sort of small flat projects like hats that are knit flat or little ornaments or fun things like that. So I hope that those of you out there are interested in this and will enter to win. Basically what you need to do, make sure that you are subscribed to the channel here on YouTube and that you're also a member in the Ravelry group. Again, you can find that link in the doobly-doo. And then I'm going to open up a thread for it that should be open when this video goes live. If not, it'll be open right after. And it'll say, 100 subscriber giveaway. And all I want you to do is comment in that thread and tell me, let's see, I haven't thought about what I wanted you to tell me. Comment in that thread and tell me what your knitting goals are for the year. Or if you don't have specific knitting goals, just sort of your general focus on knitting this year. Doesn't have to be super specific, but just sort of like what's in your mind for the future of your knitting aspirations. What are you excited about right now? I think that'll be fun because it'll help me get to know you better, let you guys get to know each other better. So once again, make sure you're subscribed to this channel, a member of the group, and you post that your response to that question in the giveaway thread. I haven't decided how long I want to leave the giveaway thread open. Since we still have a small audience right now, I want to give it enough time that there can be a lot of people entering. So I'm not really sure exactly how long that's going to be. I'll try to give you an update on my thoughts on that next week when I get a better idea of how many people have entered already. So now that we've gotten that fun news out of the way, let's jump into the finished objects this week. This week I am back to my little glass and wood cup. It's actually a wooden cup holder. I'm obsessed with these. I got a whole set of them to make my signature punch in for the holidays, and I actually had to piece them together from I think they're Soviet relics, and I found them at God, I don't even remember now. I feel like I got 2 of them from Finland and then some from, no, it wouldn't have been Finland. It wasn't Finland. It was a former Soviet state. I know I got some from, you guys don't care, Estonia, and I do not remember the second place. Anyway, I had to piece them together and I love them. So today I'm drinking Raspberry Zinger. Just celestial seasonings. I have a lot of loose leaf teas, but I don't have like the good sort of thing that you can put in the pot and then still fit the lid back down on it for loose leaf. So I don't do a ton of them in my teapot. I tend to do them as like just a glass. Anyway, I have 3 fun finished objects to show you this week. So, as you know, last Sunday I was going over to my in-laws' house and I wanted to finish the miette over there. And I finished the sleeve, well, I almost finished the sleeve. Then when I got to the cuff, I realized that I needed to do the cuff and the button bands and the neckline on the smaller needle. And I had my needle set with me, but I didn't have that smaller version because it's actually the same size that I'm using for my Ashburn shawl. So that was frustrating because I wasn't able to finish it then when I wanted to, but luckily I had brought my vanilla socks that I was working on as well because I thought I might want to do knitting if I finish the Ashburn, or I might just want to mix it up, or I might want to knit on these in the car, or what have you. So I had my Amartentia socks and I ended up finishing them up that night. So here they are. Obviously just the most gorgeous yarn in the world. This is from Little Bean Loves on her Sparkle Sock Base. The colorway is Amartentia, which is the Harry Potter love potion. So these are doing some triple dipping, I think it is, for the for knit-alongs. They work for the Harry Potter knit-along for Inside Number 23, as well as Jilly the Knitting Broomsticks Weasley knit-along, because Ron takes the Amartentia in Book 6, and her general 13 Months of Magic, I think it's called, knit-along. And they would also be in my box of socks, but here's the situation with these. So gorgeous, so lovely. Obviously, as soon as I cast off, I had to put them on my feet. So I stripped off the Wildflowers and Honeycomb socks I was wearing, and I put these on, and they are too big. They're too big because, as you know, I knit them experimentally on the 9-inch circulars, which I had not used before. I mean, you can tell, right? And the 9-inch circulars, they just completely threw my gauge out of whack. And I honestly don't really know how I hadn't noticed it, except that I was just so googly eyes over the yarn. And also, I guess, because it was a 9-inch circular, I wasn't able to really hold the sock, and I wasn't able to try it on and as I went, and I wasn't able to sort of like hold it flat, you know, and kind of get a sense of whether it was the same size as what I was used to. I mean, these aren't huge, but they're at that point where when I put them on now, they kind of fit, but they don't have to stretch to fit. And after a few seconds, I mean, they just get stretched out. So I was trying to decide. My first thought was I should give them to my mother because she'll love this color, and she has feet that are slightly larger than mine, and these are just a little bit too big. So I think it's fair to say that they'll probably fit her fairly well. But I don't like giving things as gifts that are like my cast-offs, you know, and then at the same time, for selfish reasons, I really love the yarn so much, I kind of still wanted to keep them for myself, even though they didn't fit that well. But I thought about it and I realized that I will wear them right now, but as soon as I have enough socks knit for myself that I always have another pair in my drawer, I'm never going to be reaching for the ones that don't fit perfectly. I'm just not. And then they're going to be getting neglected, and they don't deserve that. They deserve a loving home. And I think my mom will give them that. So I don't want to make a big deal about it and like wrap them all up and make it for some occasion. I did wear them that night, and then I washed them, so they're already like starting to felt a little bit on the bottom. Not in a big noticeable way, but just in a way where they're not exactly gift presentable. And they weren't made with her in mind, and I really like to make gifts with people in mind and think about them the whole time I'm knitting them. So I want to make it clear to her like what they are, and that I am still going to make her more special socks that I picked out specifically for her. But I love these and I want them to go to a good home. So the reason they can't be in the box of socks count is that those are all about socks that you're knitting for yourself. And even though that was my intention with these, that's not what's going to end up happening with them. But that's okay, because I think I'm on track to make like 24 pairs this year, so it should be fine. Yeah, so that's the story with these. My verdict in terms of the 9-inch circular, if it has not become clear yet, is that they're not my thing. They're not my thing. So right now, I'm holding on to it because I want to try using it as a cabling needle, because I had that idea recommended to me by one of you viewers. I'm sorry, I don't remember who. So I thought that was a good idea. So I'm going to try that the next time that I have a cable project that requires a cabling needle, you know, so like more than like just a couple stitches, and see if I like it. Then if I don't, I might give it away. So we'll see how that goes. The next finished object is the miette. It's in my field bag, my, what do they call it? Fringe. Yeah, my fringe supply field bag. And I finished this earlier this week. I mean, just about as soon as I could get my hands on those smaller needles, I took them off the Ashburn and knit this and then put them back on the Ashburn. You know, they're the interchangeables. So I left the cable on and I just knit them. Anyway, you don't care. You want to see the sweater, right? Is this not the most beautiful gorgeousness you have ever seen in your life? I mean, this red, this is Just Knit Picks Dishy yarn in Fiesta. It's a worsted weight cotton. I had these lovely heart-shaped buttons. The link to them on Amazon is on my project page on Ravelry if you're interested in them at all. And this lovely little eyelet rickrack, even down on the sleeves. Just so gorgeous. I think this blocked up really nicely. It's that thing where I feel like, especially with a sweater, it's magnificent. The way that it feels before and after you block it, it's like before you block it, it's yarn in the shape of a sweater, and then after you block it, it's a sweater. It's like the yarn all was still sort of thinking it was yarn, and I sound crazy, but it's like it was being pulled in a bunch of different directions. And then after you block it, it's like each part of every stitch, each little piece of yarn knows that it's part of a sweater, and it knows what part of the sweater it is and like what position it should be in. And everything suddenly just becomes like part of this larger piece. And it's so hard to explain, but if you've experienced it, and I think most of you have, then you know what I'm talking about. There's really nothing like it. So I knit this for my friend's birthday, which is this next weekend. So hopefully I will be getting together with her and able to give it to her sometime soon. And I think she's really gonna love it. Honestly, I'm like almost a little nervous that it's gonna be overwhelming because it's such an extreme gift to give someone. And I've never given her or anyone something like this. I've never made a sweater for someone else. And I want her to know that she's special, and that's why I made this for her. But I also want her to know that it wasn't like I did some huge horrible thing that I didn't want to do for her. It's also my hobby. It's also something that I love. So I don't want her to feel like she's somehow indebted to me. You know what I mean? It's just like I wanted to use this thing that I love to show my love for her, and that's really what gift knitting is about. So I've never knit someone something that's such a big deal. I've never knit someone a sweater. So I think she's expecting it. I think she knows I'm knitting her something, but it'll be interesting to see her reaction. And I hope that it's good. And the other thing that's really interesting about this for me, so this is only the second sweater I've ever knit. The first one was my Koto, which you have seen if you've been watching the podcast. And one of the interesting things is they're both the same weight. They're both worsted. So I definitely need to knit on a lighter weight yarn sometime as a new challenge for myself when it comes to sweaters. But other than that, they have almost nothing in common. So this was a top down and the Kodo was a bottom up. This was a raglan knit all in one piece, and the Kodo had seamed arms, seamed sleeves that you had to, stitch on with the blanket stitch. This is a cardigan and the Kodo is a pullover. So basically in every way, from the shape of the sleeves to the direction you're knitting, to whether you're knitting it flat back and forth or in the round, to whether it's one piece or multiple pieces, I, in 2 sweaters, have given myself such a huge variety of sweater techniques. And I just think, it kind of happened just by fortune, because these were the sweaters that I happened to want to make in a much more product focused way than process, even though I'm usually more of a process knitter. And it just worked out that they are contrasting in all of those ways to give me like a really great challenge. So I would recommend to anyone, sort of when you're breaking into sweater knitting, to try variety. Don't jump in and then get stuck in a rut. I'm sure it's nice too if you just knit a top-down raglan and you love it and you knit a million of them. I'm sure that's fine too. But I think that knitting a sweater is more of a mindset than it is an actual skill set. And once you've knit a sweater and you've proved to yourself that you can, it's like, even if the next sweater you knit has basically none of the same techniques, the big hurdle has already been crossed. So my final finished item is just a cute little couple things that I think I mentioned on the podcast before wanting to do. These are Harry Potter themed progress keepers. This one is a pygmy puff, and this one is a dirigible plum. And the reason I chose these is that I am making a pair of pygmy puff socks with the colorway pygmy puff from a homespun house. And then soon I'm going to be making a shawl, a Mrs. Winkle shawl, or a Miss Winkle shawl with a colorway called Dirigible Plum from Little Bean Loves. This is actually the colorway Dirigible Plum. This one is not pygmy puff, but you'll see it in a minute, because spoiler alert, I'm working on the socks already. This is just leftover dogwood heather from Knit Picks. Anyway, I wanted to do these progress keepers so that I could have themed progress keepers when I work on those projects. Just like over the top and fun, but it's like, I'm in such that Harry Potter mood right now. I'm listening a lot to Harry Potter and the Sacred Text, which is a wonderful audio podcast that I have recommended to everyone in my life. And I've actually had several coworkers come up to me and be like, I just have to tell you in person, thank you for recommending that podcast because it's so amazing. So if that tells you anything, it's great. So I've been listening to that and rereading the books or listening to the books as I fall asleep, and knitting Harry Potter things and just thinking about these Harry Potter cowls, and I have the Harry Potter yarn, and it's just like, I figured why not go fully in. So the way I made these is they are both charms that are part of the Care of Magical Creatures charm bracelet designed by Tiny Owl Knits. It's actually the second of 3 Care of Magical Creatures charm bracelets that she does. Both of these are charms in the second bracelet. So every bracelet has, I think, like 12 or something different charms, and they're all really fun. And I had such a good time with these that I'm thinking I definitely want to do some more of those later, maybe as more themed projects come up. I don't know, but there's like some other really cute ones. There's a really cute owl that I would like to do. I think if I make a pair of owl socks or something along those lines, I might do a little white head wig to go with it. And let's see, there's a sorting hat and like just really cute stuff. I really love the mandrake. The mandrake is adorable. He's got little roots that kind of look like this root on the dirigible plum, and he's just so cute. I love mandrakes. So so those are super fun. I have lobster clasps, but the problem is that these little rings, they're not jump rings, they're actually like a little spiral, like a keychain, and they don't open no matter what you do. So that's frustrating. So I think that I need to just get some tiny jump rings and use those to attach these to the lobster clasps, because I sort of knit these around these rings themselves, and now you can't like replace them with a jump ring because they won't even come off. I mean, I guess I could cut them with wire cutters, but whatever, having another ring is fine. So for now, I'm just using a removable progress keeper, or a removable stitch marker, to use this as a progress keeper. And that brings me to works in progress, the first of which is the Pygmy Puff sock. So this yarn, here it is caked up. This is a Homespun House Plump Merino in her Pygmy Puff colorway. So if you don't know, in Harry Potter, puff skeins are an animal. They're like a big puff ball. And then when Fred and George open up their joke shop, one of the things they offer are tiny electric pink and purple colored puff skeins that they call Pygmy Puffs, and they're like a cute exotic pet, and Jenny gets one. So that's what inspired this colorway. And here is what I have so far of the sock. I'm thinking I want to make these a little bit longer like I did with the Amortentia socks. But I have also changed up the way that I do the cuffs. So by comparison, if you look at the Amortentia sock, I think I did about 12 rounds, and I did my twisted 1x1 rib. Here I've done 20 rounds, and it is a twisted 2x2 rib. I wanted to experiment with a longer cuff to just see how I like the fit of that. I know I like the look of a shorter one better, but I wanted to try that out. And then I also just thought for fun, I might as well try a 2x2 rib. It's Molly of a Homespun House's preferred method for socks. At least I think it still is. And she dyed the yarn, so it just seemed like an appropriate project to try that out on just for fun. So I'm gonna do a Fish Lips Kiss heel, and I'll probably do a rounded toe. And yeah, I just think they are gonna be a lot of fun. I love the way that the color is knitting up. Similar to the Amortentia, in the way that the color distribution is just so lovely and even. It's got that same kind of thing, except even more speckled, even more minimal with the darkest color. And I just really love that. I don't like heavily variegated yarns that pool and kind of like change too rapidly. I really like a nice distribution that shows the depth of the color. So this is just perfect as far as that goes. And it's just that kind of color that's so bright, it makes you really happy, and it's not the kind of thing that I would wear somewhere other than my socks, but for socks, it's just like perfect. My other pair of socks that I'm working on right now are the Love socks, which are the striped socks with an Intarsia heart on the heel flap. I haven't touched them all week, so I'm not even going to bother showing them to you, but I'm hoping to get in some work on them this week. However, I have been working on my Ashburn again. This is my Ghastly's project bag from Good to Be Girl on Etsy. And this is my Ashburn, which is a pattern by Melanie Berg. And I'm knitting it up in Madeline Tosh 801010. So when last you saw it, I was here. This is a Sucra Miniatures project keeper, by the way. So this is 2 repeats into this middle section. And I have since then done 4 more repeats. So I'm at 6 out of 15. There's going to be 15. And then I'm going to move to the next color, which is this. So the gray is Boxcar. The speckled is Minimal Pink Clay Optic, and the pink is called Scout. And I just love this Minimal Pink Clay Optic. It's one of my favorite squares in my Cozy Memories quilt. And when I first started this section and I just had a few rows, I was a little bit worried about how it was knitting up. It felt like it was too minimal and it wasn't going to like be as fun as I thought it was. But now that I've knit a larger section, I'm realizing that it's actually absolutely perfect. Like so, so beautiful. I just love the distribution of the color. One of the cool things about this shawl as well, so this is the front. Technically, it's got this garter stitch, and then it has these little places where it's almost like the other color has been woven in and out like a ribbon. And then it has this other texture. And both of those are things that you create with slip stitches. So here in the back, the kind of woven ribbon area, you can see just the slip stitches behind. And for this texture, you also see a lot of those slip stitches hidden back there behind. And I actually really like the look of it as well. You can see the front and then the back. Obviously, the back looks more like a back. I mean, you can see why that's the part that's hidden, but I really like it too. I think it would be fun to wear it in that direction sometimes, or just to like fold it in a way that you can see both, because I honestly think it's really, really pretty. So that's fun. I've been knitting on this a little bit last night and some today. And I didn't get in as much knitting this week as I usually do, just because work and things have been a little bit crazy. So there were a couple nights where I came home and I just wanted to read, and I was not in the mood to knit. I think there were 2 different nights that I didn't knit, which is unheard of for me. Like, I've knit almost every day for like a long time. So yeah, I just not getting enough sleep, or I don't even know what. So I didn't get as much done on this as I had planned to this week, but still, the fact that I picked it up and made it a substantial way through the middle section, I'm feeling proud of that. The repeats that I'm on right now, it's an 8-row repeat, and it's still not at the point where it's so intuitive that I don't have to refer to the pattern at all, which I don't like. I don't like that about it. It's almost that intuitive, but it's like I don't want to screw up and have to rip back, so it's easier for me to just consult the pattern occasionally. Some of the rows I know for sure what they're going to be, but some of the rows, just at the beginning and the end of the row, I have to consult the pattern just to make sure I'm not screwing it up. And you know, maybe I'll have it memorized by the end, but it's just some of the rows are so similar to others but slightly different, and so that makes it to where you kind of have to consult the pattern. So it looks really beautiful, but it's not as relaxing a knit. Not even relaxing, it is relaxing. It's just not that great for on the go, I guess, because I have to be consulting the pattern. So it's like, I'm gonna set my ball here and have my knitting here with my long thing coming off of it. And then I also need to have my paper pattern, which is just more than I want to have with me when I'm like in the car or hanging out with friends or something like that. Like, for example, tonight I'm going to go to dinner and a movie with my mother, give her the Amortentia socks, and I will be taking the Pygmy Puff socks with me as my project. Whereas the Ashburn is something that it would be nice. I can definitely see myself taking a shawl for an occasion like that. It would just need to be a more memorizable shawl. So that brings me to the on the horizon section. On the horizon for me right now is pretty much exactly what it was last week. I have been trying to work through projects and not adding a lot of more projects to my whips. So I've got the Hopsalot bunny slippers coming up. I finally got the yarn for that. I'm going to show you that in Stash Enhancement. The Miss Winkles shawl that I mentioned, as well as the Hermione beret. I have a couple more hats, the Lolo by Jared Flood that I want to do, and the sugarcane hat for myself. I have more socks coming up when I finish the socks that I'm working on. Of course, I talked about those last week, and some ideas for sweaters in the future. So all of that is pretty much where it's at. I think I'm going to go ahead and finish the Ashburn before I add in anything new. Although I may just have a wild hair and like start one of the hats. I don't know. I'm definitely not going to start another shawl, the Miss Winkle Dirigible Plum shawl, until I finish the Ashburn. And then as for the socks, anytime I finish a vanilla sock, I'll pick up a new vanilla sock, and a pattern sock, a new pattern sock. So that's where I'm at. Although the vanilla socks I'm doing right now are technically meant for March. So I'm a little bit ahead on vanilla socks, and the pattern socks I kind of need to focus on picking up those love socks again. So that's where I'm at with that. So not a lot of new developments there. Now time for some stash enhancement. As I mentioned, I had ordered yarn for Ryan's first learning to knit project, and for my Hops a Lot bunny slippers, felted bunny slippers from Knit Picks, and they got sort of lost in the mail. So we got another order sent out, and I have them here. So this is for the bunny slippers. Nice, really pale pink. This is exactly what I was looking for. I did not want a bright pink because they're already pink bunny slippers. It's like you want to be a little subtle with it, I guess, as far as you can be. This is called Capra. It's a DK, 85% merino, 15% cashmere. So definitely will felt. There's no synthetic in there, nothing super wash. That's what I'm looking for. And the pattern is to hold the DK doubled. So I have 4 of these total. I think that's going to be a really great quick knit. I kind of wanted to work on it this weekend, but I ended up working more on the Ashburn because I thought I was going to work on the Ashburn more during the week, and you know how that is. And then the yarn for Ryan. So I mentioned before that my husband is interested in learning how to knit, and he said he wanted to knit a baby blanket. We're not expecting or anything, but I like to knit ahead sometimes. My sort of methodology for knitting ahead on baby items is socks and blankets and hats. You can do anytime, years ahead, whatever you want. And then when it gets into the garments, it's more needing to know how big the baby is going to be at what time of year so that you can pick the right length of sleeves and the right material and stuff like that. So I want to, before I'm ready to have a baby, kind of get a lot of the socks and hats and baby blankets done. That way I just sort of have those in the can and I can spend pregnancy focused on the actual garments. So as you can tell, I'm like a huge plan ahead person. That's just what works for me. So yeah, even to the extent of thinking like a couple years down the road with when I'm ready to have a baby. So yeah. So for the baby blanket, I picked out these colors based on what I thought would go well together and what I thought would keep my husband interested. I didn't want it to be too boring, just like all neutrals or something, which is probably what I would have picked. I knew that he would have more fun, and I knew that these were colors he would like. So this is a worsted weight Shine, and this is actually 60% Pima cotton, 70% modal. So it is insanely soft. And it really does have that shimmer to it that's picking up on the camera. That's not just the light kind of blowing it out. I mean, a little bit, but. So this is in Wisteria. This is Robot. And this one is Reef. And I got 3 skeins of each of them. So the baby blanket he's going to be making is inspired by something I've seen on Ravelry, but I'm not actually going to be using that pattern. I'm just going to create what I think it is in my head and talk him through it. I think it's going to be a good beginner's project. It's going to be stripes of garter stitch, and in between when you change colors there's going to be some eyelets going across. So he's going to learn the knit stitch, the yarn over, and the knit 2 together, and that's going to be all he needs. Which I think is a perfect first project because all garter stitch for something as big as a baby blanket I think would get boring. But I don't want to make it so complicated that he feels like he's making a lot of mistakes. Because, you know, I told him it's not going to be perfect. Your first project isn't perfect. But also I don't think that he wants it to be like have so many mistakes that he doesn't feel proud of it, you know? I mean, we've all been there when we first started. So yeah, I think that's going to be a good project, and I'm excited to keep you guys updated when that happens. He and I are working kind of opposite schedules at the time. He works at a hospital, and he's been on second shift, unfortunately, for like about a year, which is terrible. So we don't get as much time together as we would like. Luckily, since he has to work some weekends, he gets random weekdays off, which means that we have evenings together on those days. But a lot of the times it's like we have some time in the morning and then I come home and he doesn't come home until after I've fallen asleep. So when we do have some good time together, we're going to sit down and do that. And I can't wait to update you on it. Now, the last piece of stash enhancement. For the final piece of stash enhancement, I have the first installment of Homespun House Local Yarn Club. So if you are a member of that and you haven't gotten yours yet and you don't want to be spoiled, look away. But I think that most everyone probably has. So yeah, here it is. So this is done with non-superwash wool that is local to her in Germany. It's like a very small batch kind of locally owned small business that she's supporting. She has a sterling silver charm to match the theme. So this yarn is called Nesting. So you can see how the Progress Keeper matches that, and some of the lovely colors that are in here. It definitely looks larger than a fingering, but when you read the amount, actually, sorry, it is 427 yards for 100 grams. So I'm pretty sure that's right at about fingering. I think it just, I think it's just so loosely spun that it looks a little bit different than the 4-ply that we're used to seeing. It's a 2-ply, I believe, and it's somewhat loose. So this is definitely going to be something lovely. I don't know that it's quite as soft as I would want next to my neck, although with some wool wash, it might soften up that much. It's not itchy at all. And it's so gorgeous. I do kind of feel like a shawl would be the best project for it. So I have some decisions to make on that one, but I'm very excited to be a part of this. I know that Molly was really excited about that project in general, and definitely want to be a part of one of her Harry Potter clubs coming up sometime soon, although I have not been able to snatch a membership to that yet. If you haven't seen the latest colorway from our Harry Potter club and the matching Sucra miniature Progress Keeper, it's in her latest episode and inside number 23's latest episode, and it is just like, I'm completely in love with it. Completely in love with it. She just always kills it. So, yeah. Okay, so all I got for in-stitches is that I have been wearing lots of handmade socks. It has not been super cold here, and then recently it got very cold. So, there has not been a ton of opportunity to wear other woolly items, but I've definitely been wearing the socks almost every day. And let's go ahead and move into chit chat then. If you don't want to stick around for chit chat, that's totally fine. Thanks for watching me, and I will see you next time. If you are here for chit chat, I'm just gonna sit back. I think if I push back a little bit, you'll be able to more easily see the knitting that I'm working on. And I'm just going to work on my little pygmy puff socks because vanilla socks are perfect for this. Like I said, this week has been a little bit crazy at work. My editor has been on vacation in Europe, which is great because she is incredibly overworked. But it has been a little bit challenging around the office because we're supposed to have a managing editor under her and we don't right now. So we've all been kind of having to like edit each other's work and then like her boss, who's sort of over us in another department, has had to do some of the editing, and it's just been a little bit, a little bit. She's well missed, I guess. So she's coming back on Monday. That'll be nice. And on Friday, we had one of our inspiration sessions, which was a lot of fun. So I've mentioned before that I work at an ad agency, and one of the things that we do is every single month we have some kind of activity. And this one we went to a local brewery for it, and it was like a getting to know you bingo, because we have a whole lot of new hires that we hired after the first of the year. And so it would be like, if you're left-handed, if somebody in your group is left-handed, then you get this square, or, stuff like that. And we all hung out and drank local beer and just had a really good time. It was a new location that this local brewery, Mad Tree, had just opened that was like a huge, big open warehouse with like an enormous glass window and just like a really fun spot. We have so many local breweries here, and I assume everyone's city is kind of like that because it's just sort of exploding, but I think it's particularly big here. So Cincinnati is a very German city. I have heard, well, my mom always likes to repeat the statistic, so I'm not sure exactly where she got it, but probably a credible source, that there are more people of German descent living in Cincinnati than living in any other city outside of Germany. We were also the first city outside of Germany to get like a Hofbrauhaus, and like almost, like 75% of the people in your office or your school or whatever will have some kind of German last name that it's the culture is big here. We have Oktoberfest and everything. And so I think that might be part of it. We're also big on bourbon because we're right across the river from Kentucky. So it's all about beer and bourbon here. But literally, we have so many that a few months ago, I was having dinner at a pizza restaurant with my in-laws for my nephew's birthday. And someone was saying something about the brewery across the street. And someone else at the table says, "Oh, that one over there?" And he goes, "No, that one over there." And I realized that you could literally see two different breweries, two different local beer manufacturers from where we were sitting, which is like beyond the Starbucks at that point. Like, have you ever seen two Starbucks at the same time? No, you've probably walked from a Starbucks to a Starbucks, or like by a Starbucks on the way. Like, there's a lot of Starbucks, but in Cincinnati, apparently breweries have gotten to the point of being like Starbucks. just a little intense. So yeah, but they're fun. I definitely would recommend checking out the local beer if you're into that and you're ever in Cincinnati. My favorite is Rheingeist, and my second favorite is probably Mad Tree, which is where, that's a lie. Mad Tree is where we were. That's probably my third favorite. I also like Rivertown. Yeah, but we have some really good local beer here. So let's see what else. Another thing I've been focused on this week outside of work is movies. So I am very, very into movies. I initially wanted to be an actor, and I spent my freshman year of college at a conservatory studying acting before I decided to be a writer instead. And so it's still a huge passion of mine, movies and theater of all types. And I've always loved the Oscars. Ever since I was a little kid, I've watched the Oscars and, made predictions and read other people's predictions and just learned about everything that goes into it and everything that goes into movie making. And so this year is no exception. If you're into the Oscars, I definitely recommend the auditory podcast Little Gold Men, which is a few of Vanity Fair's film critics and culture writers, I think, discussing award season and just the lead up to the Oscars. They make a lot of predictions, but they also talk a lot about things like the Oscars So White campaign and just really give you a lot of that kind of behind the scenes stuff about what goes into festival season, awards season, what kind of campaigns are taking place, what is it like to be an Academy voter, what is it like to be a film critic, just really interesting stuff. So most years I try to see at least every single movie nominated for Best Picture, and I usually try to see everything that is nominated for all of the acting awards as well. And so I'm almost caught up on that. The Oscars are in a couple weeks. And the only Best Picture nominees I haven't seen yet are Hacksaw Ridge and Lion, and I'm seeing Lion tonight with my mother. She's already seen it, but she wants to see it again. And Hacksaw Ridge is like not my thing at all, but you know, usually there's at least one that's like not your thing, but I still like to see it because I want to see if it is my thing, and I want to sort of draw my own opinion based on actual knowledge. So Hacksaw Ridge is not in theaters anymore. I'm going to have to rent it, and apparently it's not available to rent for like another week. I was going to rent it this weekend and get them all knocked out, but I did see Hidden Figures earlier this week, which was still on my to-watch list. So after this week, I'm going to only have one left, which will be Hacksaw Ridge. I thought I was going to have them all done. And Hidden Figures was great. I mean, I want to know so much more about the true story. So if you don't know, it is about one woman in particular, but really there are three sort of central characters. They're all Black women, and they all work at NASA in the 1960s. And they're all involved in various ways on the project to put the first man into orbit, which is John Glenn, who, if you don't know, passed away just a few months ago here in Cincinnati. He and Neil Armstrong are actually both from here. And so it's just like really exciting. Just a movie about NASA is like, I'm going to be on board because I'm a big fan. I actually almost was wearing my NASA t-shirt in this video because that's what I was wearing to lounge around the house in, but then I decided to actually get dressed. So I was almost sitting here talking about this NASA movie in a NASA t-shirt, like the biggest nerd in the world, but it's so great though because it's the story about these women. They were all working as calculators, or as what do they call it? As computers. I'm sorry. I knew it was one of those words that we use for an appliance now. They were computers. They were human computers. They were really good at math, and they were paid to check other people's math and do math equations and just sort of like make sure that the math was right, so that basically these men didn't die going up into space. And one of them, it's about her becoming an engineer, which she has to petition this court to take night classes in an all-white segregated high school because they're in Virginia at the time. And one of them is doing this work of a manager, and she's not getting paid as a manager. And then she ends up being the person who, when they bring in the IBM, which is the brand name, but what they were calling computers at the time, because computers were still people, they bring in the IBM, and she is the person who figures out how to work it because she's like very mechanically minded. Like in the first scene, their car is broken down on the side of the road and she's fixing it. So she's just like, that's her skill set, and she ends up learning how to use the computer and insisting that all of the women who work under her as computers, instead of losing their jobs, that, you know, she makes sure that she teaches them to understand code and everything as well, so that when they need a team to run this IBM, she and these other Black women can be that team instead of losing their jobs. And then the main character is brought in on the specific John Glenn focused mission, and she's just this kind of like math genius, just a real savant. And there's also a bit of a love story going on with her, which brings in Mahershala Ali, who, if you know anything about the Oscars, you know that he's favorite to win supporting actor, not for Hidden Figures, but for Moonlight. And I have loved him since the very first episode of House of Cards. So I'm really, really excited that he's getting so much recognition right now, because I just think he's so just one of a kind and amazing. So he's in it, which is great. Octavia Spencer is the woman who is figuring out the computers, and she is nominated for Best Supporting Actor, which is wonderful. Although people expect it to go to Viola Davis, who absolutely deserves it, and there's some controversy about whether she should have been submitted for lead actress instead of supporting actress, and blah blah blah. This is all the stuff that I love to think about and talk about all the time, because Oscars are like sports for me. Like I told you last week, I'm not a sports person, but I kind of understand what people like about sports, because I get into that with stuff like the Oscars. So yeah, that was really fun to get to see that movie finally. I took this sock actually with me to the theater, and I knit for about half of it, and then I dropped, I realized I had dropped the stitch. And picking up a stitch in a dark movie theater is just not the best, so I just set it aside. But I did get some progress done in it. So I find that I can knit in movie theaters if it's not completely pitch black. I mean, I can knit something larger on larger needles than this in complete pitch black. But when it comes to fingering weight, like right now, I'm knitting and I'm not looking at it, and I'm pretty much good, but I prefer every few stitches to be able to glance down. Just with something this small, I'm not that great at it. Maybe the more socks I'll knit, the more I will be comfortable with it, because I definitely know people who are. And I'm knitting a lot more socks now than I ever was, so we'll see. We'll see how that goes. So I guess that's most of what I had to talk about this week. Like I said, it was pretty busy and not as much knitting. Sometimes you just have weeks like that. So I don't have a ton to share in terms of what's going on in my life. I do actually have lots of things going on in my life, potential changes that I can't really talk about yet. That I look forward to talking about at some point. Good things, all good things. But yeah, other than that, that's basically what I've got for you. I really hope that you have enjoyed this episode and that you are continuing to enjoy the podcast. Please make sure to let me know if there's anything more that you would like to hear about, or any other elements you would like me to include in the podcast, because I'm here for you and I would love to have your feedback. Remember, you can always leave comments here on YouTube or on the show notes at Ravelry, in the Ravelry group. And if you do enjoy the podcast, like I said, I really appreciate anyone giving it that thumbs up, because that just helps with the YouTube algorithms. It just helps other people find me. So I really appreciate that. And yeah, so I guess, again, just thank you so much for watching, like I said, and head over to the Ravelry group so you can enter that giveaway. And I will see you here next week. Bye.